Welcome back, everyone. This is Lord of the Reviews. I'm Javi.
And I'm Katie.
And today we're going to be doing something a tad bit different. This is going to be a podcast style video. We are workshopping the title of this to I Just Seent It podcast.
Yeah.
I Seent It.
Yeah.
Because we literally just got out of a movie called Twisters.
A movie that I have been looking forward to for a very long time, ever since the announcement came out.
She has.
Because I am a huge fan of the original 1996 film named Twister.
Yes, she is. Definitely a comfort movie for you.
Yes, something
You watch it a lot.
I watch it several times a year. Typically, my favorite time to watch it is when there's a storm happening, whether it's a hurricane, a major thunderstorm. I guess it's just my comfort movie when those are happening.
Comfort movie is disaster movie. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. Very, very cool.
Yeah. And Twister, fun fact, because I really loved the original, was the first ever movie to be, or credited with being the first movie to ever be placed on a DVD.
Incredible. Look at that. Yeah.
Just saying.
I
really love the original.
Don't know how many times I've seen that.
I say it all the time.
That's like your equivalent, or that's Twister's equivalent to
Lord of the Rings.
When he kicks the helmet.
It's like, did you know Viggo Mortensen?
Did you know that Twister's credited with being the first DVD?
Yeah. That's my version. I mean, granted, I'll still say that about Viggo, but
yes.
I will say that every time I watch the movie.
So we watched Twisters.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about how we watched Twisters.
Oh, yeah.
We watched it in 4DX, which was our first time doing 4DX. I had heard pretty good things. My cousin watched Top Gun Maverick in 4DX, and he said it was a ride, but I didn't really
I just knew it was an immersive
experience.
I
didn't really believe him. I just thought the seats moved a bit.
Yeah.
It is not that. It is above and beyond.
I was holding on for dear life.
No,
in
really.
parts.
Yeah, really. And then
which is the perfect way to see this movie.
This movie especially. Yeah, this movie for sure.
You were for sure feeling like you were a storm chaser in this movie.
Yeah. And you felt like you were in the tornadoes.
Yeah.
You were just around because they would pump puffs of air behind you,
water in your face.
Yeah. The coolest thing was after some of the tornadoes dispersed, they would have smoke at the very front of the theater, in a spiral, as if the
some puffs of smoke would come out.
Maybe I was imagining that, but puffs of smoke would come out the tornado dispersed. I didn't know we were there yet. Yeah. In terms of movie watching experience, I didn't realize it was this intense. It was like that.
I mean, I feel
I didn't know it was like that.
I feel like it's a perfect way to go to the movies, right? Going to the movies has always been such an experience, and now we're really amping it up because people tend to stay home now because people can have these major setups at home, like surround sound and crazy lights and things. So there's not that drive necessarily to always go to the movie theater because they can watch it at home. But for a movie like this and to see it in this kind of experience, you can't have that at home. Right. So it was the perfect way to see this movie.
I'm so glad that we went and did 4DX.
We did 4DX. Yeah. We were toying between IMAX and 4DX.
Yeah. I think I said 4DX. Good job.
Yeah, you did. You did. You chose 4DX.
Yeah.
And I will say, for me personally, I wouldn't see every movie this way.
No.
Because I feel like it can be a bit distracting in moments, and especially because people are all like, "What?" And
the lady next to me, every time we would bounce around, which is a lot.
Yeah.
It would, oh. So all I heard was oh.
Or if it was a major scene where we're all being thrown around, everyone would stop and the movie's still going, and people would you just be, whoo, oh my goodness. Everyone was kind of that was a ride, and I'm still trying to watch the movie. So there is a little bit of that to it, but it still really made the experience. Yes. So now, especially since there is no Twister experience at Universal or Orlando
Well, that's
anymore.
what I was going to say. It felt like I was on a ride at Universal, which was just so cool. At one point we're getting thrown around, and this
I felt like I needed a seatbelt.
This little smile, I was this is fun. It was. I'm so glad that we did that.
I will, if I ever go back, I will wear my hair up though, because my hair was just being blown around, and I'm trying to watch the movie, and I'm so
can't relate.
Yeah. So I would say those are just some things that we learned from seeing it for the first time in a 4DX theater. So we are about to get into spoilers,
Yeah, this
FYI.
is spoiler.
So
Yeah,
if you have not seen the movie, probably go see it first and then come back and watch this video because
in 4DX.
we may
go watch it in 4DX and then come back.
Because we probably are gonna like talk about some things that you may not want to know. So stop watching the video now. But if you have seen the movie, go ahead and keep watching. So I wondered if we were going to have cameos from some of those original cast members, which we did not, but we did have a lot of nods to those original characters.
We did, yes.
A lot of characters were wearing the color schemes, like full on. Sometimes it was like very blatantly obvious, but maybe only for a split second. It'd be like, oh, that was Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Helen Hunt wearing the khaki, right? Like it's these little things that like I would just be like, oh, and that one.
Yeah.
But it was so, I think, subtly done. It
was
wasn't over
good.
The top.
Even some of the dialogue.
Yeah, the dialogue. Where
like, oh, I'm glad you're back.
It's like I'm not back, right?
Yeah. I recognize that.
Yeah,
one.
like
she obviously, because Twister's, like her comfort movie, spotted a lot more of those callbacks than I did. What was it? Dorothy, though, I recognize that one.
Dorothy, of course.
They brought back Dorothy 5. Right?
Dorothy 5.
And they're like, it's so old.
right. This machine. They're like talking about this machine that obviously they used in the original movie. And they're like, man, this is so old. Because, of course, it's been a long time since this movie came out. So some technology has changed just a bit.
Just a tad,
But I love that they used Dorothy and that they still have nods to Wizard of Oz, because that was the whole point, is that like Dorothy, the Twister. So obviously this movie is about tornadoes, so we're gonna make nods to Wizard of Oz.
Like
as well.
Hobby's team, each truck had a team name. It was like Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Man. Yeah.
They all had name, and the Wizard as well.
And the Wizard,
So they had names for that, and also that team, Anthony Ramos's team, or Javi. So he loved having his name in the movie. But Anthony Ramos's team was
Hold on one sec. It's like finding my name on a keychain.
It's very rare, right?
Yeah, I'm like, hey, they got me.
I have a unique spelling. You have a name that, again, we don't find our names a lot in things. So when we do,
that's what it was. I was like, oh, his name's Javi.
Yeah. But the fact that like there was like still like kind of like two distinct teams that were very reminiscent of, like, you have the team that's very high tech and like has a lot of money thrown their way, and then you have the like rough and tumble team that like their trucks are beat up, and
I call them like, if you're a Disney Channel original movie age, how you remember Brink?
Yes.
It was like you had a team X-Blades who were like
Team
the sponsored
X-Blades,
ones,
yes,
and then you had Pup Insides who were like soul skaters.
Yeah,
these are like soul chasers. Like you know what I mean? Like you said, rough and tumble.
Right.
Like that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that you still had those two teams kind of competing.
Yeah. Just like in the original.
Right. Just like the original. Like, I mean, Glenn Powell, who like
he's so hot right now.
He's so hot right now, and he's like very easy on the ice. So the fact that like he had a red truck, and that there was the like the camper van, and like just
there was a camper van.
From the cars to the costumes, like so many nods, but done in a way that wasn't over the top and wasn't like people could go into this movie never seeing the original and like still enjoy it.
It's a standalone movie for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Leading into that, let's talk about the storyline. We touched a little bit.
Okay.
I think
we touched a little bit on it, but we started out strong.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So it's similar in the sense that in the first 15 minutes we have,
because in the first movie
we have a casualty.
Yeah. Papa, with Joe's dad. Yeah.
Papa. Right. Papa goes. I don't know if she called her Papa, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So he flies away.
Yep.
And then in the first 15 minutes they have a whole team, and was it 3 out of the 5?
Yep.
3 out of the 5 are gone in the first 15 minutes.
So we're already upping the ante. Like we're like, so we are going to see a lot more deaths in this movie, and which we definitely did.
Yeah, no, we did. At least like on screen.
Right. Like I feel like in the first one, I don't feel like we actually saw a lot.
Right. You only really saw Dad, and then you saw Carrie Ellis's.
Well, you saw them. Yep. Truck. You saw the truck.
Is that, am I saying it right? Elvis.
I always mess it up, so I don't even want to try.
Yeah,
but love him.
Yes. Robin of Locksley.
Yeah, we always,
with the British accent.
I mean, and Princess Bride.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So,
but yeah, we saw them perish.
We saw 3 in the beginning.
Yes.
And then there just throughout, like you just saw a lot more destruction, for like actual town destruction, people dying. Like I think the reality of how destructive a tornado is, was a lot more apparent in this one.
Right. Which is why I could never live
in Tornado Alley.
In Tornado Alley. If you do, bless you, because it's terrifying.
See, whereas like as a kid, like, and even now, like I wanted to be like watching Twister, the original. I wanted to be a storm chaser.
No way.
And
man.
I wanted like every time there's a storm, I like look out and we're driving. It's like I look out and I just like, am I going to see one? Am I going to see? I mean, obviously, yes, nature is terrifying.
Yeah, that's
but
terrifying.
It's also fascinating, and that's what these characters, right? That's how they got into it. Is they said like I walked out and I like Glenn Powell even says in the movie he's like I looked at a tornado. It landed right in front of me and my aunt in the car, and he was like, I looked at it with awe. And
I should have been scared.
I should have been scared. I looked at my aunt who was clearly scared, and I feel like I should have been that way too, but I wasn't. I was more like, wow, like obviously they're scared, but they're also like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
and
which
like,
it is amazing.
Let's study it. Let's
amazing.
learn about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what they're trying to do is. She's trying to, suck all the moisture out of tornadoes and kill him?
Basically, yeah. She's trying to chokehold.
Yeah, I'm not good at science, but that's what that's what I grasped.
Yeah, she's trying to chokehold a tornado essentially, and because
she called it what they call it, taming a tornado.
Taming the tornado.
Tornado taming.
Yeah.
Like
so she's coming up with like this chemicals basically to try to suck out the moisture and kill it. So that way, hopefully, we can stop from destruction happening.
Right.
Whereas in the first one, we were trying to at least get people getting a warning.
A warning, yes. That's right.
Because they had warnings, but it was always like only a couple minutes.
Right.
Whereas they were able to increase
15
minutes.
That's a lifetime. You
can save a lot of people in 15 minutes if you can get to a storm cellar or basement.
Right.
So it was like, again, you have these two movies that are just kind of sticking with what the technology is at the time too. Yeah. So I'd be very curious like how accurate this movie is as far as the science goes, because that's also probably fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I'm not a science guy, but as I was watching it, I know we're kind of veering off from the storyline, but as I was watching it, I wanted to do like a lot more research on tornadoes. Yeah. Like I wanted to look it up.
Like how much do we know? And,
like I was like, oh, I want to Google that, but I forgot what the question was. I was going to Google, but maybe it'll come later. But I wanted to. I had that desire. So hopefully we can learn a little bit more about tornadoes later on. But so similarities were, or at least in the storyline, was they're trying to save more people. At least that's what she's trying to do. Suck out the moisture, you kill it.
You have two teams going with like two different avenues to like,
and they kind of do a switcheroo here on you. They do. So just quick synopsis. We're not going frame by frame or anything like here. But Javi's team, he recruits Kate. Recruits Kate.
Daisy
She's
Edgar
kind of
Jones.
retired because absolutely traumatic happening. Yeah. Because her boyfriend at the time was holding her. Yeah. And then he got sucked out.
Yeah. Three of her friends got killed right in front of her.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't even look up in the sky, let alone stay with studying weather. So she gets recruited back to help Javi and his team. He was in the military, and so they developed this new kind of science that would be able to
like give a 3D scan of a tornado, which had never been done.
Which sounds incredible if they can actually do that.
Right. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then, so that team is kind of reminiscent of Carrie's team from the original.
So now you feel like you're on their
like,
side
wait a minute,
if you watch the original.
You're watching these ragtag group, the Soul Skaters.
And then Glenn Powell Soul Skaters.
He's coming in. He's like on his
blasting
truck.
country music.
Yeah,
comes
out with his cowboy hat.
So
looking
hot.
Real good.
So hot right now. Yeah, looking real good. Looking real good. You need a minute.
But then you're sitting there and you're like, okay, wait a minute, which team am I supposed to like? Because the original,
and
I like
Glenn
Bill
Powell
Paxton.
He does.
I
mean, right off the bat, he's kind of douchey.
Yeah.
They got like a YouTube channel. Only douchebags have YouTube channels. That's a fact. but he's like the exciting one, and people follow him, and so you're kind of like, okay, well, he's not in it for like the real science; he's in it just for show.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was kind of cool. So he,
then you find out he studied meteorology.
Yeah. So that was like, he has a degree in it. Yeah. Right. But no, it was really cool because he shot fireworks up into a tornado just because someone said, hey, can you do that? Right.
Yeah, like that's part of his
like
thing.
A subscriber said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But then like, so you're introduced to these two characters, and you're like, well, I guess I'm supposed to like Kate and Javi's team, because obviously we bonded with them first, and then here comes this guy strolling in, and he's like shooting fireworks into a tornado.
But then the switcheroo happens where you learn that Javi's team is doing this study because their backer is a real estate guy, and so when the homes get demolished, he's going in offering cash value for the land so he can build on the land.
Yeah, he's profiting off of these.
Which we
disasters.
Kate finds out later. Yeah, and these profiting off of this traumatizing thing that happens to these families. So she's not really excited about that.
No, so she kind of bounces. She leaves the team, and then she realizes, oh wait, the other team, they're not only like doing this for YouTube views and things like that, but they're like kind of like using their money, and like they're selling t-shirts and they're doing all this crazy stuff, right? But then she realizes that they're using that like money and funds to actually help victims. They're like going to these towns,
which
and
is
they're
fantastic.
they're going to the towns. They're giving out free food and water, and just like making sure people seek shelter and those kind of things, which was nice because like
they hit us with the old switcheroo, and they got me. I was like, wow. I was like, oh man, is Glenn Powell gonna be like a douchebag the entire time?
Because like, I mean,
think of all of he was not.
Think of all these other movies he's been in.
Yeah,
kind
like
of
Maverick, Hangman, douchey.
Yeah, but like has redeeming qualities and things like that. But like he usually plays that like kind of like
he plays really well. That cowboy coming in, which this was no different, but
so him and Kate start to team up because they realize that they have a common goal and they want to just basically save people. So they're studying together, they're figuring out like what's going to work, and really try to see if her science experiment that basically she had started when her traumatic event happened, when her friends died, just basically restarting it up again to see if it actually does work and if they can actually save lives, which was really cool. Again, I'm curious to see what the science behind that.
What I thought was like the coolest thing. What? Okay, so at one point she goes back home and she's like in her barn, and she had it was like her mom said, well, this is Kate's middle school project, and she had created a town and created like
model,
a little like tornadoes. That was so cool.
That is really cool. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't be able to do that now at 33. Like how do you do that?
I guess maybe you grow up in Oklahoma and you're like, you know what? I see these things a lot. Hear about the destruction a lot, and I'm just.
By the way, whenever we watch something in the South or we're in like driving through the South, Katie's Southern accent comes out real strong.
So
it's like she adopts it.
I did live in Tennessee for a long time. So sometimes that comes out, but I don't know. I'm not from anywhere really, but I did live in Tennessee for a bit.
It comes out.
I didn't even know that happened.
It's really funny when it does. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about cast. We mentioned some of the players.
Well, obviously another draw to this movie for me was Daisy Edgar Jones and Glenn Powell, because
just a real easy to look at cast.
I didn't even know like Anthony Ramos was in it until I think trailers come out.
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
Knowing that she was in it because I saw her in, I believe it's Normal People, which was based on a book.
Which was the one where it was Bucky Barnes eating people. She was in that one too.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh goodness, I can't think of the name of the movie, but that was the last thing I saw her in. So I loved her. So I was excited for her to be in this movie. Yep, Where the Crawdads Sing.
There it is, Where the Crawdads Sing. I didn't want to say the title and have it completely wrong and think that like I just generalized the South, like Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah, Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yeah, so
she was in that. And then of course we love Glenn Powell, and he's from Top Gun Maverick and Anyone But You and Spy Kids 3 and
Spy Kids 3, Spy Kids 3.
Yeah, so a lot of great casting. Again, I was kind of wishing that we were going to have some original cast kind of like pop up as cameos, which we didn't really have, but we did have a few other cameos. Glenn Powell's parents were in the movie, which we found out.
It's like pretty consistent thing.
Yeah,
yeah. Like, what you think?
He's like in every single
Spy Kids.
Yeah,
yeah.
They've been.
I know
in
Anyone
movie.
But You, the dad is next to him on the plane.
Oh,
like when he's sleeping.
Yeah.
The guy next to him is his dad.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't know that.
I didn't even know that. I think until they were doing interviews for this movie, but
another casting is I forget his name, but Superman.
Oh yeah,
Superman's in it. Yeah,
because who plays a character that is very reminiscent of Carrie's character from the original. Like
just how he looks is just
he has a hat and he just is very serious, and he's on the team that's like all about the high tech, and they're not in it for the actual science of it, right? They're in it for profit. But a fun cameo that I found out was Bill Paxton, of course, the late Bill Paxton, R.I.P. Bill, R.I.P. Philip Seymour Hoffman, like these two people.
Morgan Earp is where I know Bill Paxton.
Anyway, but Bill, yes, you do. You love Tombstone. But Bill Paxton's son actually made a cameo in this movie as well. There's a scene where
he's arguing with
they're at a hotel, and he's arguing with the hotel manager, and he's one of the casualties. So yeah.
Well, I wouldn't have said that. But. Well, we said spoilers. This is a spoiler, so it's fine.
Yeah.
We're good.
Spoilers.
We're good. Sorry.
Again, lots of deaths, lots of things,
lots
of deaths. I love that another nod to the original was that there was a tornado at a movie theater. Last time it was a drive-in.
It was. You're right.
It was a drive-in, and they were watching The Shining. But in this one, it was Frankenstein. Which I thought was really cool too. Like it was still kind of like a scary movie at a movie theater.
Right.
And there's this major tornado coming in and about to kill people. So
just while it's on my mind, I just want to talk briefly about Glenn Powell's truck in this movie. It was so badass.
A Dodge Ram.
Yeah. So you press a button, and I don't know what they're called.
The drills.
The drill. Yeah, the drills, but like it hunkers them down into.
Yeah, it goes 2 feet into the ground.
2 feet in the ground, so it hunkers them down as a twister rolls over them.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about the journalist. He was really Ben. Ben was his name. There's a journalist following around Glenn Powell doing story on American storm chasers. Which if you live in a foreign country and you hear about us Americans chasing storms, you got to be like that's such an American thing to do, right? Like
well, we have the most tornadoes out of like any country,
right? I know it happens in Africa too, but not as obviously not as often. Here it happens all the time.
Oh yeah, and that's why we have a tornado alley.
And like the first time so Glenn Powell hunkers down and he says, "Put your straps on." And Ben's like, "What?" Like, it's like double seatbelts, like NASCAR type of deal. He's like, "What?" And so the tornado goes right over him, and Glenn Powell's like cowboy, and I'm like, "Woo!" Yeah. All that. And then
he comes out and he's like, "Ooh, ooh." Like, I'm gonna throw up. Yeah.
He throws up everywhere.
I mean, because that's a real, very reaction.
Yeah.
I guess, driving through a tornado.
I would have had stuff coming everywhere.
Yeah.
If that was me, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think this was just a perfect sequel that you didn't have to watch the original to really appreciate it.
I think with you, we're gonna get into this is what you think overall. I guess we'll go into this kind of thing. But I think for you, this would be like so now whenever you watch Twister, I think it would be a double feature for you.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You go back to back, and I would watch this again.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Yes, I would say that I feel like it's hard to do sequels right a lot of the time. I think Top Gun Maverick, perfect sequel.
Great sequel.
So another great sequel movie that Glenn Powell is in. But
President of Glenn Powell fan club.
Yes,
right here.
Love him. But it's
clearly you have a type. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, it's hard, I feel like, to make a perfect sequel, because people tend to always are going to compare it to the original. And if an original is so perfect, like Jaws, so perfect, Jaws 2 necessarily isn't going to be as perfect.
Right.
Still love it. But it's it's very hard to do a sequel, an original justice when you make the sequel. So, and I think this was perfect for that. So I really loved it. I would rewatch it. I'd give it probably
ratings. Let's do it.
Yeah. I would say probably an 8.5 to a 9. Like,
yeah.
I
was gonna say like an 8.2.
Okay.
Yeah, 8.2. Which I know. Hey, Javi went above a 7. Yeah, I think
we haven't. Have we done anything above a 7?
I don't. I kind of lean on 7 as like a. Yeah, it was good. You know, like I enjoyed it.
It's watchability factor.
Yes.
It's did I thoroughly enjoy it from start to finish? Did I ever get bored? No, never.
No,
I
didn't get. Yeah, I didn't get bored at all.
Yeah. So that's all the things that I think about when I go into a rating.
Yeah. Again, it's rewatchability for me because as much as I love movies, the act of me sitting down and watching a movie is very tough.
Yeah.
Because my mind goes 800 different ways every second.
Yeah.
So
well, in this movie, because again we saw it in 4DX and you're being thrown around, I feel like you couldn't think about anything else because you're more like thinking of your life like flashing before your eyes, like gonna get thrown off of this seat.
Right.
So
yeah. But so that's why I think an 8.2. I thought the acting was great. The storyline was great. It was a fun time. It was a
summer blockbuster.
Yes. It had that essence of being like the old school summer blockbuster, and
it's an escapism. It's just.
Did you enjoy it? Something about disaster movies? Like what's the lore? Because you love disaster movies.
I do.
Deep Impact
is another comfort movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Deep Impact. I love Armageddon.
Yeah. Armageddon.
I love Armageddon. So I want to know what that draw is like, because we're through this screen, we're so close to danger, but not in actual danger.
Yep.
So you still get that kind of thrill, but without.
That's why scary movies. It's the same thing.
Well, I hate scary movies.
But I'm saying that that's the same reason why people like scary movies. The people who do like scare them, is that it's a way to you get to feel scared in a safe environment.
Okay.
But I think with disaster movies, the extra layer to that is that it's just humanity versus nature. And it's there's a draw there because it's a very real thing.
Right.
Even though some of these disaster movies are of course like way over the top. But it's still the fact that you're just like it's true. We're so also like insignificant to an extent, right? Humanity, like as human beings, we are so fragile, and nature at any time could just take us out, so right? Powerful. Like I mean, you know, the
tsunamis and earthquakes.
Yeah.
You know.
Think of Mount Vesuvius and Pompeii. Like it's like all these things, real things that have happened, and can just wipe out like our technology and our houses, our homes, our friends, our family, like all these horrible things that happen. And it's like because it's a real reality part of life, but we get to see it in a safe environment. But it's just it's that appreciation for nature.
Yeah, that segment wasn't even like supposed to be part of this podcast. It was it was an honest question I just thought up at the time. That's on the spot. Yeah, it was like, what's the draw of disaster movies?
It's a great question. That's the only thing I could think of at the time.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. But this movie was fantastic. Go see it in 4DX. Well, this was our first episode of I Just Seent It. I don't know if that's the title, but I just thought of Craig Robinson because I always laugh whenever he says I seen it. So that just came to mind. Workshopping the title, but this is our kind of like.
Just reaction.
Podcast for when we leave the movie theater. Yeah. Well, thanks for stopping by. Like and subscribe if you feel so inclined to, and we'll see you in the next one.